This is GEFerris. I have put together a group of pictures of boats in the Arctic. Here is a Nantucket sleigh ride for you. Yeah, because you run the Kevlar sort of diagonally.
Yeah.
Right.
So there will be a little spritzel that will be in here. I'm going to change this bit here.
Oh,
That'll be changed.
that little messed up.
Yeah. And then there'll be another, down here for hauling.
Right. Yeah.
And then the seat, the backrest, here is in the same ash.
Yeah. Yeah.
And these are simply spacers here for now.
Yeah, this should work out pretty well.
Then
Yeah.
I've the stringers. Let's see, these stringers are Sitka spruce.
Okay.
Last ones I did were red cedar.
Oh, yeah.
Others I did were of Douglas fir.
Singles rolling part of the Blackburn Challenge in a geodesic Whitehall.
Yeah. Jon Persson is lofting the lines for the two boats that you just saw under construction previously. This is what goes into lofting, the preliminary work for building a boat. The lines have been transferred from a drawing to now full size. The drawing was made first from a half hull. So is this the bow section you're doing?
I'm doing the stern right now.
Oh, that's the stern. Okay. Okay. So that's about your midship?
Yeah, it'd be right in the station right here.
Okay.
So it's just about the middle.
Yeah. So the line you're drawing now, then you trace that with a compass in about an inch?
Subtracting the thickness of the stringers.
A little bit at a time. So then I'll iron on the tape. Then I'll shrink it up.
And you'll trust that?
That's what I was doing now. And this other,
I-
Simpson was doing
I cross my best boat, the one that I use for doing crossings, is just double-sided tape. And it's been that way about 4 years. No problem. When you tie it on the
Now,
roof
what
rails,
about-
it takes the dent though.
What about an all skin? In other words, if we skin the hull up to here with double stick,
Yeah.
then put a double stick over that and put the deck
I'm
on.
not sure about the double stick over that, what's that adhering to. The double stick does seem to adhere just right to epoxy. I think it will adhere to, I'm going to redo the brake holes I have. With double stick, I'll use the same tape to seal it.
On this done boat that I'm doing now, I was going to use tacks on it. Tacks and rubber cement.
Why wouldn't you do the whole thing in one piece of fabric?
I don't know how. I'm only a reluctant
Wrap it
seamstress.
around, and if there's a little bit extra, just put a patch in it. Here, I'll show you how.
I think,
It's whatever comes out of the machine straight.
no, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it in two operations. I'm going to do the hull.
Instead of using the
Just put heat, and then you go with the iron.
no. Yeah.
Doing it with one though, without using the
You see,
scissors,
way under
I think one of the ends has to be done by hand.
You're then putting
That takes about 4 hours.
outward.
so that the whole, an outline. So the construction bit is different.
It takes 4 hours to sew this by
yeah.
hand.
Yeah,
It might
it looks like he's varnished it so
Right?
that,
It's the way I sew. And it takes about 10 minutes to separate.
Now, this particular one,
This was done for the kayak symposium.
He wanted to demonstrate his frame, their frame. And then he wanted to,
so the zipper is one.
zipper is working, but not anymore. Before it was shrunk,
I see, okay.
it was used as a means to take the skin.
That was a long one.
Now, then
oh, I see.
made it kind of nice.
Don has experimented over the years with making boats out of readily available, inexpensive materials that are very, very light. The only problem is if you're used to a heavy boat when you're launching one of Don's boats, you just never take your hand off of it because it either floats away or the wind will blow it away. That's quite an amusing experience to have. What Don has overcome is how to enjoy boating and yet live in an area where it's very difficult to get boats in and out of storage. He lives in Brooklyn, and so Don will show you now how he has gone about accomplishing his tremendous diversity of boat building skills that he has.
What I started with was the Gantok with outdoor sports. It was a three-bottom, hard shine canvas top. What I did was take what I liked about that, this general shape and some of the characteristics, and decided, okay, I don't need the extra. I don't need the extra freeboard. I don't need the size for some of the things. Then it's the whole range. When you're starting to build a boat or think about designing a boat, the one thing that you can't really change is your rear end size and your foot size. So you have to start, okay, it's got to fit around you. Like you think, okay, most boats, well, they do, and then there's some extra, but my feeling is, why do you put the extra? Just design it for yourself, or design it for the person you're building. The easiest way that I find is just design it full size. You just imagine it full size, so then you get stringers, you get a cross section. There's the cross sections where your feet are, where your rear end is, where the behind you is. You just put the stringers out along it, and then push them, pull them in, cut the things, until it looks like it might work. And then can either, I did some just wrapping paper around it, but that was a little bit inaccurate. You can cut the plywood out, if you're building a plywood boat out, just wrap it around approximately, draw the line, cut that out, cut the mate out. It's really easy. This is basically the same boat as the skin one. It's the same size, shape, and the skin boat's taken from it. But what I found was, once you cut the freeboard and the extra length out of the Gantok, which this basically was, the whole thing fit on one 4x8 sheet of plywood. Like, to me, that's amazing. You can build the whole hull out of one 4x8. It's not a lot of wood. It's kind of tight. There's not a lot of extra. There, it's all ready to sew together. It just, once I realized that, you can float a person in one 4x8 and have a reasonable sized boat. Okay, sewing it together. At one time I would drill all the holes, but just a sharp ice pick works pretty good. Then sew it together. When your lights come back on, look at this one on the inside of the model that I just covered. You'll see that I just put little copper wires in. What to sew the plywood together with. We're going to leave the ties in, take them out, and my best solution is, I think there's a piece of it there. It's, I was told it's grounding cable. Just in New York, it's easy. You just find it in the street, and there's tons of it. And just take the skin off it, and then you have all this nice copper wire. Then just sew the boat together. Glue it on the inside. See that later. You see all the ties. They just cut off with the wire cutters, and with a big hand planer, you just knock all the little tips off and round off the chines. The glue just knocks off with the plane. And the copper's nice because it just cuts nice and clean. You gotta glue it together. I use West System epoxy, and that used to be my glue table. I still use the pump, but it doesn't work so good anymore. After having all the insides replaced and cleaned and several times. Oh, there's that first boat. That's Marco's boat. Inside's glued on, and these plywood boats, basically they take the shape, the one inside form. The ties are on the outside, and all the wires are pressed on the inside, and it's tape, the epoxy, and lay the cloth in. This foam one day I started to think about foam, and what a great building material. It's cheap, except for fiberglass epoxy. But you just think of a shape and you butt it together and you sand it out or carve it out. It carves with a bread knife. You don't need to carry any flotation in a foam boat. You can fill it all the way up with water, and it still paddles fine.
This is the blue styrofoam.
Yeah, either blue or pink will work fine. See. I haven't yet. I've got a crack in one of mine, but it's in the foam. It's not in the fiberglass skin. That's right. It's the foam. I've tried glassing inside and outside on the first one. The second one, glassed inside and outside. The third one that I'm using now is the same design as this again. It's taken off this same set of molds, and it's glassed just on the outside, except for where I sanded it too thin in one spot and it cracked. It really has had no problems. Both the spruce, where I like using a 1-inch piece, wouldn't make the curve. So a sculptor friend clued me in on, well, you just cut little grooves in it, it'll curve a lot easier. The trick is just filling it with a syringe with epoxy after. You still see the holes where the copper comes out? Right, you see one right in the bow there. You see where the screw gun holds the gunnel together while it's gluing. Then I plane it off. You have to build a cockpit, the combing. That's the way I do it. To me, it's the simplest. One or two layers of wood to get the general shape. Clamp it together. Then you have this floating cockpit. Deck's flexible. Don't try to peg it anywhere. Just let it float. So you look at this one. You can lift it up fore and aft, and it's still. There's no reason to fasten it. This Kevlar. I use that for reinforcement. I do a series where I would reinforce underneath all the different things where I thought they'd break. And the ends of some of the paddles. Different ways of doing the deck beams. You see I'm gluing up the spruce again, trying to get it to conform to the shape that I can out of the banded. The deck stringer. This is the center deck thing. Because I wanted the low freeboard and a low deck, but I wanted room for my toes, so I split it in the Y shape up around my feet. So I designed the rear that's just after the cockpit, so it'll fit this hatch. Bart Hathaway made the gray part, and I'm putting the deck on it. He does it a little bit different, but what I say, I'm forcing this boat into a different shape. And there's the ribs. I'm just having fun with the grinder, grinding up there. There's the kind of shape that I want. Nice and low behind the deck, so you had something nice and low to lean back, stop. When you heel, when you're lean, it goes underwater good. You just lean forward, it dives. If you can get someone to sell you a bottom, or get the bottom of a boat somehow, you can reform it. You can make it wider, shallower, narrower. Because the flexible fiberglasses, you can do a lot of different things with it, and then just put a deck on it and make it any way you like. It takes a lot of work to build a deck, but it's neat to have something to start with. So I thought, I'll build something more fun that goes as fast as a speedboat.